You ever been to Williamsburg, Brooklyn, or Silver Lake, Los Angeles, or any really highly gentrified area in the United States and said to yourself, what the hell are these people wearing? I mean, they look like they're going hunting or fishing, but also they have the hands of babies untouched by manual labor, like I do.
Not a blue-collar worker. I don't do any manual labor myself.
So what I want to know is, how did brands like Carhartt go from blue-collar American workwear to the runway to the streets of Williamsburg, Brooklyn, Silver Lake, Los Angeles, Colorado Springs, Colorado, depending on who you ask, and to your boy Darren with the mustache. So today we're going to talk about the history of workwear, why it's so popular, and why workwear companies are in a weird spot politically. And it's all got to do with prices, vaccines, and politics. Ugh. It's a bit cold out there where I am right now, so like the old saying says,
Carhartts are on.
the fact is, this trend has roots that go back to the 80s and 90s, and your friends in finance finally just kind of caught on to everything. And to be honest, so did I. It's really nice and good quality clothes, and they just make me feel real handy, you know? Like I can put up a shelf without drilling 7 holes in my wall. But this whole trend started long ago with men more handy than even I. Workwear was used by farmers who needed personally tailored clothes that wouldn't rip after a single milking session with old Bessie. Cow noise. Farmers needed durable clothes like jeans. The term blue collar actually originated in the 1920s and came from trade workers wearing denim fabric. And then the world's highest budget sequel, World War II, came around, and phallic sounding work brand, admittedly, Dickies, made army uniforms for the Dickie boys going overseas. And Levi's supplied the new workforce of women at home in the US with jeans called Lady Levi's, which had a much better ring to it, by the way, than Bic for Her pens, which were made in the early 2000s for dainty women hands. That really happened, yes. So the war helped popularize workwear, but it wasn't until the 80s and 90s when it broke through into pop culture. Yeah, counterculture picked up workwear. Rappers and skaters started sporting the rugged clothing for fashion and tough material respectively. I mean, you're gonna need those, double knee pants when you wipe out like that. And like clockwork, fashion recycles, but this time in the 2010s and 2020s, it's getting real blown out, everybody. So why is it so popular right now? Celebrities, actors, models, and designer brands are incorporating workwear into their outfits that they sell. Carhartt even launched Carhartt WIP in 1994, and that's a brand that started in Europe and came to America in 2011, all to meet high fashion designer demand. And it is expensive as heck. Workwear design has entered the mainstream fully and completely. Now, the funny part is Carhartt, Dickies, and other brands are still pretty affordable when you buy them from the actual brand online, or at their collections at Walmart, or at that 1 Century 21 in New York City that's being kept alive by European tourism alone. Merci. Celebritification has just made them way pricier in other areas. It's kind of like that time Megan Fox said, hey, these Vans shoes are pretty great and they're only $60. Isn't that crazy? And we're all like, yes, Megan. Us and all of our middle school age cousins know about Vans. Please stop. I would like them to be $60 forever. Please, God. But if you find yourself at the Carhartt WIP store in Soho or a quote vintage store, you're kind of ruined financially, which I'm not mad about. That's part of why the workwear industry was valued at over $32 billion in 2022 and is projected to reach over $52 billion by 2030. So yeah, these workwear companies are making money, the clothes are cool, they're really popular. We could just wrap this up in a nice bow and move on, but we're not gonna, and that's because I just kind of feel weird about it. I don't know, man. Does it just also not sit right with you that people in Los Angeles and New York are wearing what's thought to be blue-collar worker clothing?
The capacity for comments saying these are only for people who work has been reached.
Not a blue-collar worker. I don't do any manual labor myself.
So we're at this weird cultural impasse right now where workwear aesthetic, mostly attributed to Americans in rural areas, is being thrust into the pop culture sphere. This has several adverse effects, of course. The big brand on the block, Carhartt, has realized its clothes can be sold for a much higher price than they've ever been sold for before, and people are gonna pay for it, like, those people in the gentrified areas we talked about. But this is one of the reasons that their usual clientele, blue-collar workers, are not very happy. So let's check this. In response to a Carhartt thread post that read, quote, Carhartt isn't just workwear, it's armor for people who don't complain about hard work because they're too busy doing it. Which sounds like a Home Depot commercial voiceover, but I'll save that for later. And the public to this thread responded, I didn't know people were active like that on threads, working class people don't want to pay $120 for a basic coat. Bruh, settle the fuck down. White girls wear you to go pick up lattes after a weekend bender. I can agree with that. Next, LOL, you mean Dickies and Ben Davis or Viking? Carhartt is for office workers who cosplay as dock workers. Okay, well, those are pretty harsh, but it's a good thing none of them were particularly Actually, I forgot my favorite one. Here we go. Quote, I'm literally a drug dealer and I am currently wearing your warmest winter jacket. Do I count as a hardworking person? Only one was incriminating, and that was the one. So the cost is bad enough for some, but Carhartt's more conservative side of its clientele also didn't really like what the brand did in 2022, if you can remember that long ago. Their CEO, Mark Vellotti, sent a memo for Carhartt employees saying the company required them all to be vaccinated against COVID. This is a real hot topic back then. And as you can imagine, the conservatives were very calm and orderly about this. I'm lying, they were not. Boycotts surfaced, people tweeted, there was a bit of an outrage about it all that lasted a few weeks. So these workwear brands are essentially trying to play both sides, because clearly managing the politics is the best for making the money. And side note, besides the Carhartt WIP brand, they've never done any advertising or posts on Instagram or any of their social accounts that have catered towards, let's just say, white-collar workers. It's all about the blue-collar worker. I mean, you can look at their Instagram. It's literally all just like people sawing shit and like, hey, it's great, yeah. But that makes me want to buy the stuff more, you know? It's more like rugged. It's interesting. I feel like I'm going to gain a beard, and not just on my neck. But in my personal opinion, despite the strange pseudo-appropriation of the working class on the left and gatekeeping on the right, don't most of us just want affordable, quality clothes? At a time where this country is at its most divided, American flag, something we can all agree on is that we kind of like a Carhartt beanie. Kind of love it. It's neon, it's orange sometimes. Pretty cool. And this sense of Americana fashion has really returned, as shown by, well, these hats, a resurgence in rugged, distressed fashion, new metal kind of being back, which thank God, by the way, I would do it all for the nookie, every single bit. And lastly, that it's just kind of annoying that your friend Darren is wearing it as a UX UI designer, but the thing we all hate most about it is that it's getting expensive. We can all agree on that. Be less expensive. Listen, workwear will always be workwear to those who need it, but right now, fashion brands are just kind of having a time with it. They're having their run. And as all fads do, it will eventually nicheify and die in the mainstream eye. You know, when's the last time Supreme was popular and everybody wanted Supreme stuff? Exactly. It's nicheified and it's basically dead. I don't know anybody that likes it anymore, except for that guy Greg at work. But until that happens, as tradition would say,
Hey, just so everybody knows, Carhartts are on.